Paleontology is a notoriously difficult science because it attempts to reconstruct extinct creatures based solely on ancient and often fragmented remains spanning hundreds of millions of years. Given these challenges, it is understandable why researchers occasionally make significant errors ranging from minor size exaggerations to fundamental misunderstandings that reshape our view of prehistoric life. A classic example involves Megalosaurus, the first dinosaur ever scientifically described in 1824 by William Buckland. During this era, the concept of a dinosaur did not even exist, leading Buckland to conclude he had found a massive carnivorous lizard that walked on all four legs like a modern reptile. He also speculated the animal was amphibious, behaving much like a crocodile, and initially estimated its length at 12 meters. Later, influenced by rival discoveries, he wildly increased this estimate to 21 meters. Buckland even tried to align his find with religious beliefs, suggesting the predator was a merciful being meant to end the suffering of the sick. As time passed, better fossils revealed that Megalosaurus was actually a bipedal terrestrial predator, and far smaller than initially claimed, weighing about 1 ton. Mistakes did not end there. Even with non-dinosaur species, such as the infamous case of Megarachne in the 1980s, a fossil found in Argentina appeared to be a monstrous spider with a body length of 34 centimeters, surpassing the Goliath bird-eater, given its discovery in the Carboniferous period of time. Known for giant arthropods, the find was widely accepted and celebrated in museums and documentaries as the largest spider to ever exist. However, skeptics noticed unusual anatomical features like a divided carapace and strange mouthparts which are not seen in any known spider species. For 25 years, the specimen remained in a vault until a more complete second fossil was discovered in 2005. Analysis. New material revealed that Megarachne was not a spider at all, but rather a type of sea scorpion known as a Eurypterid, specifically related to Woodwardopterus, which inhabited freshwater floodplains. The misidentification of Megarachne was a massive blunder, but it is not the only high-profile case involving iconic prehistoric animals. Therizinosaurus, known today for its enormous scythe-like claws, was originally thought to be a giant aquatic turtle. In the late 1940s, Soviet expeditions in the Gobi Desert unearthed massive 3-foot claws, unlike anything seen before because the area was rich in turtle fossils and ancient river systems. Scientist Evgeny Maliev hypothesized that the claws belonged to a massive turtle that used them to harvest seaweed. This misunderstanding is preserved in its species name, which translates to scythe lizard turtle. It took years of re-examination and new discoveries of limbs and ribs to confirm that Therizinosaurus was actually a theropod dinosaur. While its identity is now clear, debate continues regarding the function of its claws, with theories ranging from defense and digging to simply being for show. This highlights how even the most distinct physical traits can lead to drastically different conclusions when the fossil record is incomplete. Another iconic creature that suffered from early scientific confusion is Pterodactylus, the first pterosaur ever discovered, found in the late 1700s in Bavarian limestone. The fossil was remarkably well preserved, yet the first scientist to study it, Cosimo Collini, believed it was a marine animal. Despite its lack of aquatic adaptations, he interpreted its wings as long flippers used for swimming underwater like a seal, and even rejected any connection to birds or bats. It was not until the early 1800s that Georges Cuvier and others identified the elongated finger bones as support for a wing membrane, marking the first realization that pterosaurs were flying reptiles. Even then, the transition from aquatic to aerial interpretation took decades to be fully accepted by the scientific community. Today, we recognize Pterodactylus as a small Jurassic flyer that lived near lagoons feeding on small prey. Its history serves as a reminder that our first impressions of ancient life are often colored by the limited biological knowledge of the time period in which they are found. The strange case of Anomalocaris demonstrates how one animal can be mistaken for multiple species, especially when its anatomy is unlike anything currently alive. This creature was an apex predator during the Cambrian period, reaching a significant size for its time, which allowed it to dominate the ancient seas. However, when its first fossils were discovered in 1892, researchers did not realize they were looking at a single organism. Instead, they classified pieces of its body as 3 distinct animals. The front appendages were thought to be a type of shrimp, while its circular mouth was identified as a jellyfish, and its trunk was seen as a sea cucumber. Because these fossils were frequently found in the same locations and often clustered together, scientists eventually realized they belonged to one bizarre creature with a complex body plan. This realization changed our understanding of early marine ecosystems, showing that complex predators existed much earlier than previously thought. Even today, the name Anomalocaris, which means abnormal shrimp, reflects its confusing history and unique biology. As a member of the Radiodont order, which is an extinct group related to modern arthropods. Another remarkable mistake involved the dinosaur Deinocheirus, whose identity remained a total mystery for nearly half a century. In the 1960s, researchers in the Gobi Desert found a pair of massive arms with giant claws measuring over 2 meters long, but almost no other bones were found nearby. With so little information, paleontologists could only speculate about the owner of these horrible hands, leading to its formal name many imagined. Terrifying predator larger than a Tyrannosaurus rex that used its claws to tear apart prey, while others suggested it might be a sloth-like creature that lived in trees and used the claws for climbing. The mystery was finally solved in 2013, when more complete specimens were unearthed, revealing one of the weirdest dinosaurs ever found. It was a giant duck-billed ornithomimosaur with a large hump on its back and a specialized skull for eating vegetation and fish. Rather than being a savage killer, it was a gentle giant reaching 11 meters in length and weighing over 6 tons, making it the largest member of its group. This discovery proved that even the most frightening claws can belong to an animal with a surprisingly peaceful lifestyle and a unique ecological niche. Beyond misidentifying bones, paleontologists sometimes make mistakes about whether an animal is even extinct, a phenomenon known as the Lazarus taxa. The most famous example is the Coelacanth, a group of primitive fish that first appeared over 400 million years ago. For a long time, they were only known from fossils and were believed to have gone extinct alongside the dinosaurs 66 million years ago during the mass extinction event. However, in 1938, a living specimen was caught by a fishing boat off the coast of South Africa. Marjorie Courtney Latimer, a museum curator, noticed a strange blue fish with limb-like fins in the catch and contacted scientist J.L.B. Smith, who confirmed it was a living coelacanth. This discovery shocked the world and proved that some ancient lineages can survive virtually unchanged for millions of years in deep water environments. Today, we know of 2 living species of coelacanths which inhabit deep ocean waters and continue to provide valuable insights into the evolution of tetrapods and the history of life on Earth. Their existence reminds us that there is still much to explore in the depths of our oceans, and that our knowledge of the fossil record is still incomplete relative to the vastness of time. The history of paleontology reveals a fascinating journey of discovery, marked by both brilliant insights and significant errors that have reshaped our understanding of the natural world. From the early days, when dinosaurs were seen as giant lizards, to modern times, where we recognize them as complex and diverse creatures, science has constantly evolved through the process of trial and error. These mistakes are not signs of failure, but rather evidence of the rigorous, self-correcting nature of scientific inquiry. Every time a fossil is re-examined or a new specimen is unearthed, it provides a chance to challenge old assumptions and build a more accurate picture of life on Earth. Hundreds of millions of years of history are hidden within the crust of our planet, and piecing it together is much like solving a massive puzzle, with most of the pieces missing. The dedication of researchers who spend decades searching for a single bone or reanalyzing ancient data is what allows us to look back in time and witness the incredible diversity of organisms that once ruled the land and seas. As technology advances with tools like high-resolution scanning and genetic sequencing, we can expect many more of our current beliefs to be challenged and refined in the future. Beyond the fossils buried in rock, the deep oceans remain one of the last great frontiers of discovery on our planet. The story of the coelacanth reminds us that the line between the extinct and the living is sometimes thinner than we imagine. With only a small fraction of the seafloor explored, it is highly likely that more prehistoric relics and biological wonders are waiting to be found in the lightless depths. This connection between the ancient past and explored present is what makes the study of life so endlessly captivating. If you have enjoyed this journey through the history of paleontological blunders and the incredible creatures that define them, please consider supporting the channel by leaving a like and subscribing to stay updated on more fascinating stories from the world of extinct animals. Your support helps bring more high-quality content to light and allows us to keep exploring the mystery prehistoric world together. We can continue to marvel at the strange and wonderful forms life has taken throughout the ages. Thank you for joining us on this exploration, and we look forward to sharing more incredible discoveries with you in the next episode of Extinct Zoo. The Crystal Palace dinosaurs in London represent one of the most significant and permanent mistakes in the history of paleontology. Created in the mid-19th century by Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins, under the direction of Richard Owen, these life-size models depicted dinosaurs like Iguanodon and Megalosaurus as heavy rhino-like beasts with horns on their noses. This was based on the limited fossils available at the time, where isolated spikes were misinterpreted as nose ornaments despite being scientifically inaccurate. Within just a few decades, these statues became the definitive image of dinosaurs for the public for over a century. These early reconstructions show how a single error in judgment can become deeply rooted in culture, making it difficult for new scientific evidence to change the popular narrative. Even today, these statues remain in London as a historic monument to early scientific thought, reminding us that our understanding of the past is always a work in progress and subject to the limitations of current evidence. Another period of significant errors occurred during the famous bone wars of the late 19th century in the United States. This intense rivalry between paleontologists Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh led to a frantic rush to discover and name as many new species as possible, resulting in many hasty and incorrect descriptions. One of the most famous blunders was the naming of Brontosaurus, which was later found to be the same animal. Apatosaurus, but with the wrong head attached in his haste to outperform his rival cope, even reconstructed a long-necked marine reptile called a Lazarus with its head on the end of its tail. This era of competition, though filled with mistakes, also brought thousands of new fossils to light and laid the foundation for modern paleontology. It highlights how human ambition and ego can sometimes cloud scientific judgment, leading to errors that take decades, even a century, to correct through the careful work of subsequent generations of scientists. Many of these errors have been identified and rectified, allowing us to see these magnificent creatures for what they truly were. Spinosaurus provides a modern example of how paleontology continues to change its mind, as new evidence emerges. Originally discovered in Egypt in 1912 by Ernst Stromer, the fossils were tragically destroyed during a bombing raid in World War II, leaving only sketches and descriptions for decades. Spinosaurus was depicted as a bipedal predator similar to a Tyrannosaurus, but with a large sail on its back. However, in 2014, fossils found in Morocco suggested it had short hind limbs, indicating it might have been quadrupedal, or spent most of its time in the water. Further discoveries in 2020 revealed a paddle-like tail, suggesting it was a highly specialized aquatic hunter. This ongoing transformation of Spinosaurus shows that even well-known dinosaurs can hide surprises for a century or more, until the right fossils are found to reveal their true nature. As we find more bones, we realize that this giant predator was far more specialized than anyone had ever dreamed possible, making it one of the most unique creatures in the history of life on Earth. One of the most revolutionary shifts in our perception of dinosaurs is the realization that many of them were covered in feathers rather than scales for over 100 years. The public and scientists alike imagined dinosaurs as giant cold-blooded lizards. This view began to change significantly in the 1990s, with the discovery of beautifully preserved fossils in China such as Sinosauropteryx, which clearly showed evidence of primitive feathers. Since then, many other species, including relatives of the famous Tyrannosaurus, have been found with various types of plumage. This realization has forced us to rethink not only how dinosaurs looked, but also how they lived, behaved, and regulated their body temperatures. Birds are now recognized as the direct descendants of small feathered theropods, meaning that dinosaurs never truly went extinct, but are still flying above us today. This shift in understanding highlights dynamic nature of science, where new technology and fossil sites can overturn decades of established belief, transforming these scaly monsters of our imagination into complex, vibrant, and bird-like animals, has been one of the greatest achievements of modern science. As we look to the future of paleontology, it is clear that many more mysteries remain buried, waiting to be uncovered. New technologies like high-resolution CT scans and molecular analysis are allowing us to look inside fossils and even extract microscopic details that were once invisible. We are moving beyond just identifying bones to understanding the colors of dinosaur feathers, the sounds they might have made, and the complex environments they inhabited. While the mistakes of the past are often humorous, they remind us of the humility required in science. No discovery is final, and every theory is subject to change when new evidence presents itself. This constant search for truth is what makes the study of ancient life so enduringly fascinating to people of all ages. Whether it is a giant lizard mistaken for a rhino or a sea scorpion mistaken for a monster spider, each era has brought us closer to a more accurate understanding of the history of our world. We continue to dig, explore, and wonder at the incredible story of life written in the stones beneath our feet, and we look forward to what the next century of discovery will bring.